Dunbar, yet again from the J.F. Germain Esoterica line of tobaccos. A wonderful blend of 7 different Virginias with some Louisiana perique. And this one is definitely my favorite of the 2 recently reviewed. It's on the lighter, brighter side of Virginias for me normally, but a wonderful, wonderful flavor with tons of nuance. And we'll get into that a little bit in just a minute here. But look at that stuff. It's just great. I let this dry quite a bit. Greetings and salutations yet again, my friends. John Boy, the U.S. Piper with you. This time, some more unobtainium in the form of Esoterica's Dunbar. What you got? I done got that Dunbar, man. Got some of that Esoterica Dunbar. I hear it's pretty good. Incidentally, this little 8 Deco Buddha tamper, that's the screw and pick. That's a really cool tamper for 12 bucks. I may have mentioned that already. Oh, me. Give it a little light tamp there. I like it. Now, this is another first impression. However, I will say I've actually already had a bowl of it. This is my second bowl. Whew, it's just all settling right there, isn't it? For some reason. Now this is more interesting. This is a little more my speed. As one of you were kind enough to point out, this is actually probably, arguably, a little tamer, at least in perique content. I don't know, maybe, than the Dorchester. I would say, really, that's a hard call to make. This is a blend, of course, of the seven various Virginias. I was surprised when I opened it, and the first photo of the tin open looks a little orange for some reason. I think that's just the way the light hit it, but it's much brighter than I would have expected. I was under the impression that Dunbar had the darker Virginia contours, but I'd say there's 7 different. I mean, there are some median. There might be just a very small hint of red in there. I can't decide if there's a small hint of red or if it might even be a little bit of a Cavendish or Cavendished Virginia. I don't really think so, though. I don't taste that, and I'm pretty sensitive to that because I'm not a big fan. And it might just be an orange that's been fermented a little bit, whatever their secret mojo process is at J.F. Germain. I didn't want to smoke it in the same pipe because of the top note I detected in the Dorchester, which I looked, after doing the review, I kind of looked around on tobacco reviews. Nobody seems to list a top note in there. I'm going to stand by my statement, though. I don't think that's all perique. I think very little of it's perique, and there is a top note. If I'm wrong, sue me. The review's worth what you paid for it either way, but pretty sure I'm right. I have a beard and a pipe. What are the odds I'm wrong? Of course, so is everybody, that disagrees, so who cares? But I taste what I taste, and I taste the top note. Now, this one is more of a natural tobacco flavor. Very good Virginias. Again, you would expect that, and you should, given the price point. And how big a pain in the keister it is to come up with this stuff. I'm thinking if I'm ever going to get any rich dark flake unscented, I'm going to have to frickin' fly to the Isle of Jersey and go get it myself. Shake somebody down. Give me your lunch money and your rich dark flake, kid. Maybe some more Dunbar while you're at it. Of course, it'd be a shame to go there and also not get some Stonehaven and Penzance. But, well, it's all the way up there in the stacks of 10s. But I've also got some Balkan Soprani to try. So, looking forward to that. And I think I'm going to get some of the Balkan Sassini and try that as well. You know, not that they're from the same source, but very similar style blends. Both seem to have very big followings, very popular. And I haven't tried either, so I'm looking forward to that. And I'm still sitting on a couple ounces of HH Vintage Syrian that I have not even tried yet. That and the Cabbies mixture I'm sitting on. I think I've just decided I'm keeping those for fall when the Latakia season is in, you know, is ushered in. That'll be something special for the holiday season. I just had so many different blends going last year, fall and winter, that I didn't want to. It just felt like too much. I had so many open. I went through a lot of tobaccos last year. And this year, argue, to tell you the truth. But I'll tell you what this reminds me of, and it's going to sound a little odd, and it doesn't help you if you haven't had some of the Rattrays, but it reminds me a lot of Old Gowrie if you took the dark fired out. But that's not fully accurate either. There's just kind of a dry piquantness, just if that's a word I may have just invented. It's got a little bit of bread, a little grassiness, a little fermented hay. Not a ton, but it's got it. They're darker and more red Virginia and darker Virginias in the Old Gowrie, so that's not completely accurate. But there's just something about the contours that I really love. I love Hell of the Wines too, but Old Gowrie, and of course it's got that wonderful Kentucky with it, so some of that dark fired goodness. But it doesn't overwhelm the rest of it, which is what I really like about that. And this, of course, has a little bit more going on in the Virginia department. And they are on the higher side, more on the treble side. They're not bitey, they're not sharp, they're still very smooth, especially for as much bright as there is in here. And they pull together very nicely, very smooth. Not bitey. Like I said, if you bite yourself on this, you have earned it. And I actually gave this one a couple hours of tray time because I took a nap because it's Saturday and I can do that. Had a pipe and a beverage and had dinner, and here I am again for round 2 with the Dunbar. Now this, there might be, I'll tell you what I might be calling a top note of dark fruit. It's almost like there's just a kiss, very, very slight kiss of almost a little bit of that Kendall essence thing, even though this is not a Kendall tobacco. It's different than theirs is. It's more subtle, and it does lean more towards dark fruit. And I think that at least one or two of their Virginias in here are kissed with it. I don't think the whole thing is kissed with it. It's much more subtle and way in the background with the perique, to the point that I'm not fully sure it's not just the perique. I think in the Dorchester, a lot of people go in there expecting perique, and when they smell it, that's what their mind tells them they're smelling, is that dark fruity perique instead of the what I consider a top note with a little bit of a very small amount of perique. Very mellow perique at that, because you can't find any spice or, to me, there's no pepperiness or spice or nose tickle to it anywhere. In fact, you can't even really detect, I don't think I can detect the perique past the top note in that. In this, I think most of the dark fruit is the perique, even though it's way in the background. And I think some part of this might have a little kiss of that top note. But if so, it's so far in the background that I can't tell you for sure it's in here. And that's one of the reasons I went to another pipe, is I didn't want to smoke it in the same pipe and then say, oh, it's got that same top note, and you know, my pipe might be ghosted. And this one, I haven't smoked anything with a top note in it, so but it could also just be the fermented quality along with that perique in this. Because it's so laid back, I can't call it. It's far enough in the background, I just can't call it. And that's good. That's where it should be. To me, it's got a very good natural tobacco flavor, way above and beyond anything else. It's some beautiful Virginias. Beautiful. Even though I really love my red Virginias, and this is not in that wheelhouse. This is more of the it's got some different Virginias in there, but it runs a lot lighter and a lot brighter than most of what I really like in straight Virginias. It's definitely was pressed and sliced and rolled that, tumbled out and all that. I think in one of those intro pictures you can see little remnants of, you know, where it was at one point, pressed and flaked and rolled back out. There's some little chunks, and I broke it up in the tray a little more so it would dry. So the later pictures you'll see it more evenly dispersed through the tray for drying. But this is more of an honest vapor to me. I almost wouldn't even call the other one a vapor. That's how light it is in perique, and I feel like most of what you think is perique in there probably isn't. This, I think there's not a lot of it, but what is in there flavor-wise, I feel like mostly you are getting an honest perique with some wonderful Virginias. And I feel like the other one has some different but equally wonderful Virginia profiles in it. They're both top-notch. I need the top note to fall back a little bit in Dorchester before I feel like I can really start to pick out and appreciate everything that's going on in it. And I think a little jar time will do that. I think a little age will bring that out as well. So it's one to leave in a jar a little while, and I'll probably come back to it, like I said in the other video. But I stand by the topping assumption on my part, because I'm pretty sure on that. You don't have to agree with me. This reminds me of, if it is, it's not the same top note. If there is a little bit of a top note in this, it might be a little bit better described as an essence. It reminds me a little bit of Stonehenge flake after it's had some airtime and died way back. It honestly does seem to have like a little bit of a lakeland. I'm getting more of that as it develops. I'm about a third of a pipe in, maybe. It almost does come across. It may be the same top note, and I almost thought there was an underlying bit of that with that top note in Dorchester, and now I think there probably was. It's just the top note was louder than that, so it was hard to pick out. I think I'm going to pick out a lot more of the Virginias in that after it sits a little bit. But in this, I am getting a bit of that, and it's wonderful. It's not heavy-handed. It's not your granny's knickers, but there's a very light kiss of it. Almost a light kiss of a alcohol carrier with it too. But it's hard to pick out because it's really good and subtly done, which is the way I like those done. Because when they really fold in with those Virginia flavors and contours, and they're just bracing them, that's where the real art is on that type of a treatment for me. And I feel like the dang Brits have us on that, man. They're just good at that. They have some that are loud with it too, but they have some that are just this dance of, perfectly balanced with the Virginias. And this one hits that for me. You can argue whatever it is, but the important part is, whatever the hell it is, it's damn good. Damn good. Damn fine smoke. Really fine. Yeah, it does. Now that I said Stonehenge flake, which is a GLP's John Gawith kind of concoction. Yes, it's better done in this, which it should be for the price point again. Yep. There is some type of a floral essence in there, but it's very light. Whereas in the other one, it was, and I was missing the word figginess on the Dorchester, and with the kind of plummy figgy with maybe just a hint of a more citrus apricot kind of thing, but really more dark, like fermented plums or figs or, that side of things. This might have just the most subtle hint of pepperiness or spice, but it's so soft that it's hard to say if it's that or if it's whatever that light essence is in the nose. Because I get a little bit more of that with it now that it's developing, and I'm picking that out more. It's built on my palate a little. And we've got into this, at least a third of the way. Wow. This one is a showstopper comparatively between the two. I think the other one will age very well, but if I could get this easily, I would smoke this a lot. Very good, very good. Even though I generally prefer a little bit more perique, when you get something that's this well balanced, and whatever that little bit of something extra that's in with the Virginias in this, it's just very legit. It's very British. And again, if you're perique shy, this is a vapor for you, because It's primarily a Virginia with a little perique to me more than it's really a vapor. But I mean, it is a vapor. There's definitely some perique in there. And Stonehenge Flake is like that too. It's far enough pushed back, but this is a little bit more of a, even more subtly and fruited out perique than what's in Stonehenge, and it doesn't stand out in Stonehenge Flake either. But I feel like the essence is even a better quality in this, and the Virginias are better. They've got that very legit British quality to them. It's ironic that, you know, most of the tobacco in the world really came from us here in the States, and yet, and you know, it certainly comes from other parts of the world, especially nowadays. But so much of it comes from here. The gift of tobacco is really an American gift to the world market, I feel like, originally. But man, the Brits just, they're awful good at manipulating it. They are awful good. It's kind of like we just got off on this whole Burley thing and kind of forgot about all the other stuff. Well, they were just, you know, Leonardo da Vinci painting pictures with essences and processes, and we're throwing paint on the wall, and they're painting, you know, masterpieces with these things. But thank God we have some glaring exceptions to the rule. Greg Pease being one of them. I smoked so many of his blends. Thank God for Greg Pease, I guess. And that's a man that has a very healthy respect for the British tobacco traditions, which is, and it shows in his work. Some more than others, but man, that guy has come up with some wonderful concoctions. But you know, the Esoterica thing is so overhyped. And yeah, they're a little overpriced because of the whole scarcity thing. And you know, we live in this hipster thing where it's got extra cachet because it's hard to get, probably. And all that BS aside, this is worth the pain in the ass that it is to get. Margate, I was kind of like, meh. There's a lot of Englishes I'd rather smoke than Margate. Margate's perfectly good English blend. But nothing slaps me around and makes me want to run out and buy a bunch of tens of Margate. Pembroke is enough different that Pembroke is pretty darn good. It's a standout from their English balcony side to me. But and Dorchester is really good. There's very good Virginias in there. Like I said, I think after some jar time, I'm going to appreciate it much more. But right off the bat, me and this Dunbar, we are friends. It is a wonderful tobacco. And I tend to go for ones with a little bit heavier mouthfeel, a little bit darker maybe, or a little bit more body, but this is just so good at what it is and what it does. And there's enough flavor in it that it's just kind of beyond reproach. It's that good. It's very refined. So definitely of those two, Dunbar has definitely blown my hair back way harder. It's just it's more the type of thing I really appreciate They both have a lot of nuances. I think the nuances will come out better in the Dorchester after that top note dies down a little in the jar and it gets a little airtime. And a lot of blends are like that. Actually, Stonehenge Flake is like that. I usually tell people, don't pop the top and smoke it. Pop the top and wait 2 weeks. Because if you smoke it right out, you might really hate it. But if you let it breathe a little, you're probably going to love it. So I have every intention of doing the same thing before I pass any real judgment on Dorchester, because I feel like that'll probably happen there. Either of these would definitely be candidates for aging. But to tell you the truth, there's no reason to wait, in my opinion, on the Dunbar. I mean, I'm sure it would get better with a couple of years on it, but it's mighty fine right now. Definitely give it some dry time. I give this quite a bit of dry time, and it's smoking wonderfully. So, I've run a bit long here. I'm going to continue to, and it is doing the same thing. It's developing just a little bit as we're going. It's getting a little bit darker in contours. The perique is coming out a little more. There's a little more spice to it than there was. And that's what you expect from a quality tobacco like this. And I am not disappointed. It's a very smooth perique, very smooth. I definitely think there's a little bit of maybe a lightly floral essence. It's not over the top floral. Just kind of makes you go, You know, the way it mixes with all those Virginias and really pulls them all together. It's a much finer dance than this one to me. Quite an accomplishment. And this is another one, the 10 note is wonderful as well. Go ahead and spend 30 seconds running your nose over that one. It's even stands out more in the Dorchester. I think it's got a little bit more of that sweetness to it and a little bit more of the plumminess from whatever that top note is. But with this, it's more of a subdued natural thing. It's still in there. It's a little, not as loud, but because of that, those Virginias and whatever this little bit of an essence is with it, it's a little bit different flavor profile, but wonderful. And it smokes the exact same way. There's enough going on here nuance-wise to satisfy anybody. Be them primarily Virginia or vapor smoker or both. Yeah, you're not going to get hurt with this one. Well, I'm going to smoke the rest of this. You'll have a wonderful evening. If you can get a hold of some of this stuff, you should. Well worth the price of admission. John Boy, the U.S. Piper. Y'all have a wonderful Sunday tomorrow. Or today, if you're watching this tomorrow. Y'all be careful out there. It really is good. Good night, guys.